Are you looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this football and basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select two or more players, pick more or less on their projections for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the PrizePicks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, PrizePicks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/bluewire and use code BLUEWIRE. That's code BLUEWIRE at prizepicks.com/bluewire for a first deposit match of up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.
Welcome to Mavs Moneyball's group therapy. I am Kirk Henderson, editor-in-chief of MavsMoneyball.com. You are joining me following the Mavericks' third straight loss, this time to the Atlanta Hawks. It's really painful to be beaten by small guards. Guys, it's been a weird week. We talked on Sunday night, then we didn't talk for a couple of days. There was that, the Dallas Observer published the story about the mural. We knew it was there, but I didn't want to run the story, frankly, because weekend traffic is garbage and people notice things more on the weekday. And we published it on a Monday, and it quickly became a story. A story in a way that I really found interesting because there was like two lines of attack. Attack's not right. Two lines of thinking. The first was, what ended up being Cuban's line was that it's disrespectful to the players and everybody else because the mural is saying, please send help. And then the other line of thinking of like, are we really like talking about a mural? How about we just make the team better? Could that be a thing? I sit firmly in the middle and am annoyed that it's a thing because, we do this, we talk and criticize the team all the time. And so to kind of read what Mark was writing to the to the painter of the mural, I sort of took mildly personally because it's like dictation on how to be a fan. And I hate that shit. Never tell people how to be a fan. It's the whole point. Like fan is short for fanatic. It's not fan for boot. It's not short for bootlicker. God, shit drives me crazy. But on the other side of it, the guy was basically expecting to be treated like he was special. Congratulations, you painted on a wall. I've written like probably close to 2,000 articles on Mavs Moneyball. I've never asked them for anything, nor will I. It's creepy and weird. Don't expect stuff for your fandom or for your art. Ridiculous. But then that sort of spawned like this odd conversation around the team. There was a conversation on the ticket today. Like it seems like that there's a little bit of like eyes opening about, just sort of what's going on here because Mark is still very clearly in charge, which is his right, but it's also has limitations. Then we come into this game and Dorian Finney-Smith is back and Josh Green was back and they both looked, it was good to have them back is what I'll say. I'm interested to hear y'all's takes on them. But then the Mavericks lost anyways and lost to a team that we really like to beat. So I don't know, it just kind of sucks. Like, I'm not upset. I'm really not. Like, first of all, shout out to an early game. We're going to be out of here before 11, which means I can go to bed like a human, and that sounds good. So, all right, you guys know the drill. Come up on stage, say your piece. Let's get in and out of here because, there's like, I don't really know what of course we're going to talk for an hour now that I say that, but I don't really know what we're going to talk about here with regards to the game. It just seemed like a tough one. All right, coming up first, my man Chris. Chris, did you have to suffer and go to this game? What's going on?
No, I didn't go to this game. I think the next game I'm going to go to is the Spurs, Mavs. Obviously the Mavs in San Antonio during spring break.
Yeah.
Probably some playoff games as well. But the fact that the past 3 games we're averaging giving up 135 points, that has to be some type of Mavs record. I mean, I don't remember the last time that's happened where we're getting beat that bad on defense. I mean, the Hawks had 8 players in double figures. And DeJounte Murray, Trae Young wasn't the one that killed us. I had no idea.
He played a great game. He controlled it through passing.
Yeah, it's just frustrating because we played decent defense. We would have won this game because, I mean, Bullock played pretty good tonight. He had 18 points. Wood was playing good. Dinwiddie's playing decent, and Luka had another 30-point game. It's just defense, and I know Finney Smith and Josh Green just came back, and I think Maxi Kleber said within a week, or at least after the All-Star break, he'll probably be back. But
I don't understand that one. That one is like I've been messaging with injury expert Jeff Stotts, and he just said I'm watching this whole thing intently. Because you play fantasy football. Every time a wide receiver tweaks his hamstring, he's never the same for the rest of the year. How the hell is Maxi going to have his hamstring detached?
He must be Wolverine or something. And also, he's 30 years old, and I'm 39, and I'm basketball injuries. These things linger,
right. But I mean, at the same time, they could just use his brain on the floor.
Yeah. I don't really know what the tech. I really thought we were going to go out and kick the Hawks' ass, not just because of the Hawks, but we're coming back home. Those 2 disappointing games in Portland. And the thing is, the Heat kicked the Pelicans' ass tonight by 30 in New Orleans. So I'm kind of worried about the Heat.
We should be worried. The Heat are not when going into this week, you look at kind of the records and you see these teams and everybody's kind of within 2 or 3 games of one another. And this was one of these games that you hope that Dallas would pull out.
Because we're in the 5th spot still. But we'd have won these 3 games. We'd be tied with number 3. We'd probably be the 4th spot still. But right now just a few games of going to like the 11th or 12th spot. I mean, if other teams go on a winning streak, I mean, we can be out of the play-in. I mean, I still got several games left, and they can right the ship and get some guys healthy. And they just got to win some fucking games, man. Like it's the defense. I'm not worried about the offense.
Well, Kid roasted the defense. Kid was pissed in the post game, and I'm normally pretty critical of the kind of games that he plays with the offensive stuff, but my goodness, was he right on about
I watched that post game. What Kid was saying, but I say on offense though. But yes, all teams are basically going to just do that to Luka, just hard trap, hard double him, and just live with the results playing 4-on-3. So they've got to figure something out. I mean, I know Dinwiddie can play good. I'm just always worried about his passing ability, but I don't know. I just hope they can get something decent at the deadline, but also not give away too many first-round picks and mortgage our future. I don't know. Maybe this is like you said. You got to take their medicine and just ride this season out and convey that pick. So I guess.
Well, it's so interesting because in the ESPN pregame, Adrian Wojnarowski said the Mavericks are in play for both Nerlens Noel and Bojan Bogdanovic, and I don't see that moving the needle. Not to mention, I will rage fucking blackout if we give up a first-round pick for Bojan Bogdanovic in 2023 when the Mavericks could have, if they were interested, pursued him in 2019. That would make me fucking crazy.
Yeah. Gosh. As long as we don't have another fucking Knicks trade, I'm so sick of the Knicks. Dude, we're the Dallas Mavericks.
Oh, Cam Reddish is such a stiff, and it would be the kind of thing that if the Mavericks did it, it would be trying to kiss up to Clutch in my read, and I don't care about that shit. He's terrible.
Yes, it would be another disappointing. Tim Hardaway Jr. All these. I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr. can play good sometimes, but we know how streaky he is. Yeah. But there's just a laundry list of players. Just so many players. The whole Porzingis thing, losing Brunson. I'm just sick of the Knicks. Please, any other team, I'm just sick of the Knicks. But
I hear you.
Yeah, Friday. Let's try, hopefully, and pray that we get a win.
That's right.
So,
all right, man. Thanks for hanging out.
Yes, sir.
All right. Coming up next, Let's go with my man Ewan, who's East Coast based. What's up, friend?
Hey, what's up?
Just slogging through the night here. What's going on with you?
Yeah, man, that was a tough loss again on national TV. You know how we do when we have national televised games.
Yeah, they did not look ready to play to start that game.
Yeah, and it's like, I always think to myself, like, I know Luke always come off and he defers the first few minutes and he let the other guys try to get going. But, I mean, I guess that's good in a way, but I don't like that. I want him to just go for the jugular early, be aggressive.
Oh, he scored 19 points in the first quarter and then just didn't score in the second.
But it's like the first few possessions, like they got a turnover.
Sure.
So, he really touched the ball the first few possessions. So that kind of like set the tone in the way of how the game was going to go. I mean, like you said, he ended with 19, but I want to see that 19 be the 19 of the first 20 points.
Yeah, you want to see him put the other team on their heels. I can understand that.
Yeah, that's what I like to see. I mean, and it's something that we've constantly talked about. It's like we have no interior presence. We have nobody that has any physical force. I mean, Dorian tries, Green is athletic, but we don't have nobody that can really fully battle, like, 2 jumps, 3 jumps and battle someone for a rebound. It's like if they miss the first jump, the rebound belongs to the other team, so it's kind of like that is just that's painful to watch. It's like a layup line. Anytime they get into the paint, it's just like bucket. It's hard to watch. It's hard.
I don't disagree. I thought this game was at least pretty fun. Just with the back and forth element of it. And I honestly was surprised the Mavericks lost. I figured they would have pulled out at some point, but those turnovers caught up with them. And then there was that basically 8-0 run that took like the Hawks about a minute and then the game was over. That was pretty disappointing. So I know what you mean.
Yeah, we went up by 10, and then DeJounte Murray himself had an 8-0 run.
And that's like, that feels like a bit of an outlier. Like John Collins was shooting 22% on threes, and he hit all like a bajillion threes. And so it's like there's enough stuff with this game for me to sort of hand wave the outlier elements while also understanding why like Jason Kidd was so pissed. It really was just kind of a funky game, but how many funky games are these guys allowed to have? I think is kind of a real question that, is worth asking, because they can't keep screwing around. If they lose to the Heat on Friday, there's just a chance for a tumble. There's not, like a ton of games on the horizon where you're like, that's a win. That's it. They just don't have it.
Yeah, it's like every game is a clutch game. Somehow, some way, it's a clutch game. Even against bad teams. Like, we haven't beaten an opponent like pretty much in a month. Yeah. So it's like, this could be really rough for us this stretch. But it was good to see Green and Dodo back out there. You could tell with Green, his energy and his, the impact plays that he's making, his passing, his just fighting over screens and fighting for position. That's something that we haven't had in like a month. So, that's good to see. But it's like, you saw Luka with the pick and roll. Like the Hawks pretty much, of course, did the same thing, like double him majority of the game. In the beginning, it was kind of soft, but as the game wore on, they doubled him more hard. And you can see him trying to tell Christian Wood, like, yo, you got to come to the ball. You see the double team, you got to come. Yep. You got to come up.
There was no, I don't know what ought to happen, but I do know that when I see 4 other guys standing around, it bothers me when he's getting trapped.
Yeah, it's like he's getting trapped. Like, do something, move. Like he's accepting the trap because he wants to pass the ball. Yep. He wants to take on the advantage, so he's accepting the trap. Do something, cut. Do something. So I mean, but other than that, like whenever they face, they say this is Luka's first 30-point game against the Hawks, and that's actually very surprising. But it's kind of like he's just the Trae Young thing is like that's just. In a different, Luka just a different stratosphere.
Yep.
And lastly is like Trae Young had 15 points pretty much the whole game, and they put up 130 points.
Yep.
And that's what kills me. Like you did so well with him, and we still gave up 130 points. That's right. And you can tell that J.K. he's pissed. He's pissed now.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's gonna do moving forward. Maybe push Josh Green in the starting lineup. I don't know. It's a little too early to do that since he just came back, but we need some defensive presence, man. We need somebody that's a fighter down there, that's a bulldog in the paint. And I don't know what we're gonna do. I don't know what can be done, but we need to do something.
Yeah, we do. All right, man. Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, hopefully we beat, Miami. Any thought of D-Wade just pisses me off. So
sure. Oh, God, yeah. I got into an argument with somebody yesterday about Bam Adebayo. I have no Bam Adebayo feelings. I just fucking hate the Heat.
Oh, what's that thing? Chris Godwin for the Bucks. He should never wear that jersey.
I hate the Cowboys, and I'm just like, no, dude, no. I'm a Cowboys fan for a day because of this.
All right, man.
Talk soon. Coming up next, we got Simon. What's going on, man?
Hey, Kirk, how you doing?
I am doing well. Thanks so much.
Hey, good. So, I didn't actually start watching the game tonight till the second quarter.
So you missed the pain. First quarter was weird.
Well, it was, yeah. So I checked the box, and Lucas got 19, 6 7, and all that. And I start watching, the game in the second quarter. And when he gets back into the game, and other callers have, pointed this out, the Hawks started going with the high trap every time they run the pick and roll, right? And I first noticed the first team that really did this to Luka was Toronto when they played Toronto on the road, where Nick Nurse basically just decided that I don't care if they're playing 4-on-3, like we're trapping
just
him.
Over and over, like selling
just
out.
over and over and over and over. And a few other teams have kind of, emulated that strategy, right? And the games where Lucas had big scoring nights, like against the Knicks and against the Rockets and teams like that, for whatever reason, they've just neglected to employ that.
Right.
And for a stretch, it was working. It was working tonight where he was passing out of it, right? And they were getting Wood in the middle, and Wood would have kind of a free roll to the basket. He hit Reggie on a nice when Reggie back cut it and Wood hit him there. It was like kind of late in the second quarter. It was good, but I don't know that it's sustainable. And the one thing that kind of like, I think this comes back to coaching, because like Kidd seems content to, when Luka is getting just constantly, double teamed in that situation near half court, to just let it ride. And he never really seems to make any adjustments where, all right, we're going to have Spencer or somebody else bring the ball up and try to run some action to get Luka in a rhythm, because it did succeed in kind of taking Luka out of a rhythm a little bit, where he's not seeing the rim as much.
Yep.
And his field goal percentage the rest of the game suffered.
Well, it felt like the shots he was taking were like, I'm going to take a shot, which is not how Luka plays basketball.
Yes.
Like Luka,
it's not how he. 100%. I really wanted to see if I'm crazy, or if you're seeing the same thing I'm seeing, and I don't know if it's Kidd and the coaching staff trying to find a way to get Luka involved in other sorts of actions other than him bringing up the ball and running a pick and roll.
Well, they just don't run enough sets, and I don't know if they don't. It's a gift and a curse, right? Yeah. Because you have a guy who's so gifted like that, but then it's a curse for him also, because like it's a slight criticism of Luka, but he hasn't rounded out his game to where he's really a factor once he gives the ball up. And I know tonight he twisted his ankle and he looked like he was lumbering a little bit. Yeah.
And he just seemed content to where once he gave the ball up, he's like, all right, I'm out of the play. But that's where like a coach, especially somebody who has like the quote unquote gravitas of a Jason Kidd who played in the league and was an all-star or was an all-NBA player, who can kind of reach Luka on that level, right? Whereas maybe Rick Carlo did play in the league, but obviously he wasn't. Like that's where Kidd has to come in and be like, bro, first of all, design something, right, to get him involved in a different way, and number two, reach him on a I don't know if it's a psychological level, but to get like, bro, move without the ball, post up hard, duck into the paint, move. Something because it's just it's not to me. It's like it works for a while, right? Where they're doing the 4-on-3 thing, but then when the 3-point shooters start bricking wide open shots, you can just feel the air come out of the building. It's like, oh my God.
For sure.
Yeah. That's game 45. That it's not really kind of game to game stuff we're looking at here. It's more the big picture stuff. And that's
on the flip side, you don't have to it's still before midnight on the East Coast for you. So that's good.
It's 11:30.
Like there's another 3-game road trip coming up where they play the Kings twice. That's just it's just gonna kill me. So alas.
Anyway, man. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Thanks for hanging out. Talk soon.
Always a fun time. All right.
Okay, let's see here. Got a couple more. And we got my man Brent. Brent, what's going on? He wrote a delightful, much more calm takedown of JaVale McGee than I would have done for Mavs Moneyball earlier this week, and he's also been our recent resident YouTube finder. So he's been, Brent writes, I don't know, anywhere from 8 to 12 things a month for Mavs Moneyball. How you doing, Brent?
I'm doing all right, man. Good to talk to you. I think that the Hawks must have been using Goldberry's ESPN piece today as motivation on their bulletin board. They seem to play better than they have in a while.
I mean, John Collins averages 12 points a game, and it's like, what is happening?
Yeah, and I think Trey gets up for these Luka games. I think he really does.
Absolutely.
I got to tell you, after the game, my head was kind of spinning because I said in the Slack, if you gave a public interview and someone's asked you for ways to improve the site and you started your answer, if it's with this personnel, ... my feelings would get a little hurt, man. You might be looking for some new writers. What is he doing?
I mean, Josh Bowe made the point in our post-game show where he said, Kid rarely gets directly testy. He's usually passive-aggressive horseshit.
Yes.
And last season, right before their run, he did something like this, too, where he really called out because, if you're going to play Luka, Spencer, and Wood together, and I think the Mavericks have to, then they all have to play better and harder. That's it. Because Dorian is going to do his part. Josh Green will do his part. Reggie Bullock will try very hard and probably fail to do his part on defense. Like those are kind of your 6 guys at the moment till Tim comes back. Like that's the nature of this. And so I'm usually very pissy with Kid comments. And for some reason, this one just didn't rub me wrong.
Do you think that he waited for this game or this game waited for him in as much as he got to see the 5-man lineup you just called out? Hey, this is what I've got to do because of all the things that Wood has brought to the table on offense. He's probably not going to go back to a 6-man role. And he's looking at it going, well, I can't tell myself that things are going to get better when Dorian and Josh are back because here they are and these guys are still getting beat.
Well, and that's got to be it because it's been, you go look at, it's been over a month since Green went out because he went out in the Milwaukee game, which might as well have been a lifetime ago. And then Dorian went out a couple games later. So it's like they've had sort of a built-in excuse for their defense to be bad. The thing that I'm sort of questioning, though, to a degree, and I'm going to check my math here to make sure that I'm right about the days that it's been, because it's been for forever. It's been over 20 games for Green, which feels nuts to say out loud. It was Friday, December 9th against the Bucks. So we're looking at almost basically 5 weeks, 5.5. And the thing about the defense is that it wasn't that good before. And that's what I've been really curious because as they've been away longer, there's been more and more pining. It's like all of a sudden what if Josh Green and Dorian come back? I made an asshole joke where I'm like, it's like signing a pair of free agents. And obviously those guys are upgrades. I don't mean to imply that, but the two of them together average 15, 6, and 2. Like that's not moving the needle. So it's, if anything, it's just kind of a reminder of this whole fiasco about whether they need to improve the talent. The answer is yes, of course they do.
When you say something like, well, if it starts with this personnel, that almost sounds like the preamble to, we're probably going to be trading some of these guys here soon. That's what it felt like in the moment when I heard him say that.
which, I mean, rearranging, I mean, they're not, this is an unfair thing to say, and I say it often, but it's rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. Like any problem you trade away, like a player's not working, you're also creating a problem. Like they don't have, it's not like they have surplus assets to be able to do like what the Clippers ought to do, which is consolidate some talent, or, you know, maybe even to a degree with like Orlando, or not Orlando, the Thunder have, where it's, you know, you want to shore up a rotation. You cannot have a 13-person rotation and these sort of things heading into the playoffs. And the Mavericks just don't have those ability. I don't know.
No, we didn't see last year's trade coming, so maybe something surprises. But I think you're right. It goes back to what we were saying before the season started. You've got a combination of players you can't live without, seemingly, and players that ostensibly nobody else would want.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's sort of the gist, where these players all, I have a hard time ascertaining like value for Green, for example, because they need what he's doing. They need him. And that's not an indictment of him or saying he's good or bad, but Jalen Rose calling for more Hardy. And it's like, in this economy, I like that guy too, but the rookie second rounder cannot be playing minutes when this team needs to get, you know, cannot be getting minutes. The team needs a win first. Like that's what I'm getting at.
And not just a win, but a win that comes against a good team, that was said earlier, and winning in a way that makes it feel like a sustainable enterprise rather than a magic trick.
Yeah, for sure. What else you think?
So, well, I was kind of writing about this whole Maxey thing. I'm glad he's saying that he's coming back this season, but when you say you're coming back next week, bro, it's kind of scary. Because what if he comes back
by the practice facility? Like,
I don't know. He's saying in the Valley Sports pregame that he's not promising that he'll be back next week, but he used the term next week as a target definitely before the All-Star break. And I'm like, it's great to hear so much confidence in his voice that he's not out for the season. Yeah. But the one eventuality they can't possibly let happen, and I don't think they will, nobody can prevent a re-injury, but you can prevent re-injury if it's because you came back too soon. They can't let him come back too soon.
Javier in the chat says 1 to 3 week timeline is most likely. Jeff Stotts, the basically injury expert, only has 3 of these in his entire database ever. And he has data going back 10 years, okay? This just doesn't happen in basketball. The average time away is 150 days, 5 months. So I just don't, you know, it's, Javier says Maxey got a girlfriend. That's why he's coming back. Adam did too. That's a great joke. God, I wish I would have thought of that. I mean, I want him to come back. It just feels sort of, you know, I'm used to hearing football players say they'll be back. We never hear basketball players say they'll come back. Like they just never, ever do it.
No, he seems like just a really great teammate, and he's obviously an amazing and rare set of skills. I mean, to be able to protect the rim, to switch on almost anybody when he's on with his shot, to be able to spread the floor. He can pass out of the high post. You just get so many things when he's on the floor, and given how McGee has worked out, we need it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, anything else for us?
That's it, man. Talk soon.
Talk soon.
This is advertiser content brought to you by Frito-Lay.
Hello, I'm Chip Murphy, here to get you ready for the big tournament. Tonight we'll break down who will be cutting. Cut! What are you two doing?
Sorry, Chip. Prez here got his feathers ruffled when I told him Ruffles has 0 chance of winning the title.
And I was letting Dip know that she is not taking into account Ruffles' iconic ridges.
Guys, it's March. We have to start talking about the tournament.
We are. It is the 2023 Frito-Lay Snack It.
We're talking about big-time matchups between Cheetos, Smart Food, Lay's, Sun Chips, and more.
Just head to the Frito-Lay Snack Bracket and vote for your favorite chip, pretzel, or dip for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks.
This sounds great. Keep up the good work.
Just go to fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends 4/3/2023. Void where prohibited. Here's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for 1 bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com.
Okay, see if we got anybody else waiting. Matt. Welcome, Matt. What's up?
Hey, Kirk. How's it going?
It's going. What's going on?
I was actually at the game tonight, and it was rough. I'm like you. It was fun with the back and forth, and there was definitely some cool things that I saw. Man, it was just rough. Is there really a chance that we can see this defense get any better? Do you think?
I don't see how. And that's not to me, it comes down to Dorian playing better and Reggie Bullock playing better. And it's on defense. And they're like the start of what I keep, and I'm not the first person to say this, but I say it a lot, where it's like the connective chain of what the defense does. And if they're bad, it doesn't, there's no one else better than them. So I don't see how, the help being Dwight Powell funneling over to the rim doesn't really matter. It's like, if it's a handoff where you're two people meeting somebody in the paint, that's a little bit different. But it's like, we're watching guys get beat on single dribble moves on repeat. It's really, it's just uncomfortable is where I'm at right now.
Yeah, definitely seeing it live was definitely uncomfortable for sure. And
what was the crowd like tonight? Because I heard some of my friends who were at the game said it was really hot in the arena, and it felt like it kind of just the vibe was strange.
It's funny you asked that because there were 2 Hawks fans that were sitting behind us that were so obnoxious. It was ridiculous.
I'd be the same way. I love when fans do it, but it also pisses me off that season ticket holders sell their seats to other teams. But what are you going to do?
Well, so I was sitting, my boss has season tickets. And so that I was sitting in his seats, and they're basically in the 120 section row, J. So it's only a couple rows back from courtside. It's great.
Awesome.
But gosh, man, these fans were ridiculous. But, I don't even know I want to get into it, but it seemed like the energy was pretty high when things were going well. I think a lot of that is because, Trey was in the building, and it's just him and Luka are just forever going to be linked. And it was a nationally televised game as well. Yep. So I could see Van Gundy's bald head from a mile away. But yeah, I will say one funny thing is that my younger brother was with me at the game. He's a senior in high school, and he keeps up with the Mavs a bit. And I was like, oh, looks like JaVale's going in. He's like, oh yeah. I was like, yeah, he's not playing super well. Really? And then right as soon as that happened, I think Capella he was guarding Capella, and then I don't know what happened, but I'm assuming he probably blew some kind of assignment, and Capella got this monstrous dunk on Bertans. And I was just yeah, Exhibit A. He was like, sure, oh, man. Okay.
That's fine.
Yeah, so no, but I think the energy was really good. I mean, because there was a point in the fourth quarter where before I think DeJounte Murray made that 8-0 run where, it seems like we could have won the game, and I think the energy was really high for sure. But anyway, I don't really know I have much else to add besides differently than what other people have.
No, it's fine. It's always good to get up and talk. Because now, who else is going to listen to you? You already talked to your brother. You have to tell other people. That's why we do these.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's just, we'll see. I'm kind of like everyone else. I don't want the organization to make any panic moves, but I don't know. I mean, there was a report that came out that Luka had privately, I guess, spoke with the office saying that he does want them to work hard at the trade deadline, basically. I don't know what that means or what effect that's going to have. But I guess we'll see.
I wrote about it today, and you're giving me a chance to tee off about what I wrote. And What I essentially said was, because Cuban then responded, just making it a bigger deal than it needed to be. This is the Dallas Mavericks getting their first taste of superstar player empowerment. He's never had to deal with this because Dirk was old by the time LeBron James went to the Heat. He was never going to do anything like this. They've never had a player in this position because it's only been going on for about 13 years. And so, a superstar pushing a front office to make a trade or to improve a team is news, but it should not be shocking. So what I am pretty certain what happened is that someone within Luka's circle probably contacted somebody within Cuban's circle and said, Luka, something needs to be done to shake this up. Nothing negative about other players or anything like that, but just said, we hope you're active. We hope you're active. Because in the summer, Luka was on the record saying that he didn't have anything to do with the free agency. He was going to let the front office work. So I sort of think in a big picture sense, this is a good thing that Luka opened his mouth because it shows that he's not just going to sit there. And, there isn't much the Mavericks can do, to be quite honest, but I'm glad that he's using his voice. And then Mark, answered and basically said, Tim McMahon is Tim McMahon is wrong about this. This hasn't happened, which, how many times has Cuban come out in a firm denial only for it to be true? And so it's just like, of course, right. Mark makes it a bigger story than it needs to be. It is what it is, but it's just, for me, this is the price of doing business with, with having a superstar. I don't mind him exerting a little pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. It's interesting too, that it comes on the day that the mural was also removed. And I understand that his PR people or whomever basically asked the artist to remove it. But I guess he wants to basically work with him to do something different, which I think is pretty cool. I think that was a good leadership move for Luka to do that. But I don't know. I don't know really what to think of this team still.
It's weird. It really is weird because, if they could go on a huge losing streak, they could go on a massive winning streak. And I simply wouldn't bat an eye either way. So,
yeah, somebody just said Luka actually wants the mural bigger.
I saw a thing that said his next collaboration will be Luka asking for a trade request via mural. And I'm like, no. Anyway.
Oh my God.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us.
That'd be terrible. Yeah, thanks so much, man.
Talk soon. All right, we got anybody else? Oh, Krishna. Krishna's wanting to come in and take us out. What's happening, buddy?
Kirk, how are you?
I'm good. I'm browsing while I'm talking to you guys. I'm browsing Amazon Kindle deals for books that I will never read because I don't have time to. So what's going
on? I watched some of the game, not really a lot. I've been busy with other things, but
sure.
This game, I knew I wanted Josh and Dorian back like anyone else.
Yep.
But I knew in the back of in my heart, I was like, okay, this is going to help. But in the back of my brain, I knew this is not going to make a difference. Like these guys, especially Dorian, who has not played good defense pretty much this entire season, whether we want to admit that or not, I didn't think he was going to come back from a pretty serious injury.
Yeah.
Especially for a guy who's 30 plus and be a net positive on the defensive end. And Josh, I think Josh will come around to it. I think he's a lot younger, so obviously his athleticism.
He looked good. I mean, I thought Josh looked pretty good. He just gets called for lots of fouls, and I think that's something that kids.
I think that's an experience thing.
Experience. I think kid making the argument that these things aren't fouls. Please stop.
Yeah, I think I'm not as worried about Josh just because he has athleticism and age on his side, and Dorian. It's hard to say that because Dorian is now 30 plus, and I feel like I've made this point in different places, but this roster has 4 players who are under 30, and Spencer is one of them, and Spencer is about to turn 30.
Yep.
And it's not even to critique these players, right? And it's not even to get into the whole needs help. It's more about you need the tiers. You need a tier of players. And for as much as I like to joke on the Hawks have done a pretty good job in terms of their roster building where they have different levels of players and, technically the roles are far more defined, but I mean, they have other issues, but that roster in and of itself is very well put. And it's even the same with OKC. Like, people can talk about tanking is bad, but, that is a very well built roster, even for a tanking roster in terms of just the level of talent that's there. And they're missing their number 2 overall pick. And they still have a lot of picks and a lot of stuff to do. And, I was listening to another podcast and they were talking about, the Mavericks have tried, but, they failed. And it's like, okay, but the problem in the NBA and the problem in sports in general is sports is kind of the closest thing we have to a meritocracy. And when you have a real meritocracy and you fail, you don't get a second chance.
Yep.
You fail. And that's the issue. And I was thinking about this, how I forget the Cavs owners now, but, so much has been compared of Luka's early career to, LeBron in the early years. And we talk about nowadays how like GM LeBron, but when you look back at it, it makes sense why he became GM LeBron, because when you get stinged like that over and over again in Cleveland.
Oh, but then, he was responsible. See, this is where players doing this sort of stuff becomes extraordinarily difficult for GMs. And as I wrote today, because LeBron's an awful
I agree
GM.
with you. No. Look, I'm not going to sit here and defend it. I'm going to sit here and say I understand why he makes those decisions, right? Like, you don't trust the front office, right? Because you sit there and then you go, okay, no one is giving me anything, and I can't blame these guys. I like these guys and I like these players, but the front office is not letting me do. Like, I feel like I have to do things, but then when you do that, you make really bad front office decisions. It's kind of why, like, I have always argued Miami was kind of that perfect situation where clearly Pat Riley took input from him, but Pat Riley was a very competent front office person.
Right, he wanted to fire Spo.
Yeah, and there's like a point where it's a balance, right? Like, clearly Dwayne Wade and LeBron wanted Bosh, they wanted certain players, and Pat Riley was okay with that. But when it came to firing Spo, Pat Riley was like, no, we're just not going to do that. Yeah. And it's that balance. And he went back to Cleveland, and it was kind of a mess. But the one thing I praised Cleveland for in the last year of LeBron is they fired David. I forget his name. He's the Pelicans GM now. He's done a great job there. And then they hired Kobe Altman, and they were very firm. Like, we're just not going to trade picks.
Yep.
You're just going to play this out. We don't care. We're pretty sure you're just going to leave.
Right.
And I thought that was a good move. And since then, they've had 5 first-round picks. 2 have not been great, Colin Sexton and Isaac Okoro. But they flipped Colin Sexton and another pick for Donovan Mitchell, and they have a really great team over there. I mean, they're still missing parts, but they've taken that chance. And part of what I've seen from that is you don't hear from the owner anymore. So infamously, I remember, right? LeBron leaves in 2011, the decision or whatever. And there's that stupid Comic Sans press release. And it's absolutely idiotic. It's one of the worst things I've ever seen. And since then, I think part of it is just winning and all these right decisions going their way. But since then, you just don't hear from him. And, I think Mark Cuban is kind of a microcosm for the failures of this team. And, the simplest thing Mark Cuban could have done when this report comes out.
Say nothing.
That's it. You say nothing. I mean, who cares? If you do not say anything, no one is going to say anything, right? It's not going to be a big deal. People are just going to speculate, oh, maybe the Mavericks make a trade, maybe they don't.
Yep.
And that's it. That's all it is. But I also think part of it is Mark started owning the team when he was fairly young for a guy to 40s. Have, technically. But I mean, I feel like he didn't personally have the maturity to own the team. And I don't think he's ever really learned about owning the team and being able to step up to the plate. There's been
what made him so interesting is also what now makes him boring. The supreme attention to detail and the level of things that he wanted to do in 2001 are just not interesting in 2023 because all of these owners, almost all of them, there's probably 6 or 7 that are kind of old school owners, like the Pacers owner and the Spurs owner. But so many of these guys are billionaires. Like Cuban is in probably the meat, like the middle 10 of the 3 in terms of wealth. And so it's like all this stuff that the Mavericks used to do that was different. He set the standard so everybody catches up with it. And now he's primarily like his primary, like the stuff he does, he's talked about it. He's involved in the day-to-day. He's involved. I wouldn't be shocked if he's involved with like arena operations. Maybe not. I don't know. But it just, and so that sort of thing where it's like he's constantly around is what I've been arguing for close to 3 years, where I'm just like, this can't help. It's not interesting. Players don't want this. Like, Steve Ballmer's hilarious and weird and a billionaire beyond measure, but he's also a dork, and I doubt the players really want to hear him making a pitch.
Yeah, and I also think like Steve Ballmer also hired people who clearly have a lot more basketball knowledge than him. Like Jerry West is, I think, has one of the best track records as a GM. Not perfect, but a very good track record.
Yeah.
And maybe Steve Ballmer gives input, but I'm sure at the end of the day, Steve Ballmer is not the one, deciding to go get Trey Mann, go to get Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, right? Like, make those trades. I don't think he's the one doing that. And I think clearly Mark is the one doing that. And you kind of put it out there, right? The Mavericks didn't upgrade anything in their arena until Luka came. Until 2018, they didn't upgrade the locker room.
Well, I mean, they've done a lot of stuff. They really have.
Yeah,
I don't want to crack on them for this stuff. It's just that's no longer like there was Cuban went on the Knuckleheads podcast. What two players do that? And they talked about how cool they thought it was that Cuban did all that stuff. But did they come play for the Mavericks? No. Like,
well, that's the thing, right? Like, I was listening to, I don't know if it's a podcast or a show. It's called like the CJ McCollum Show or podcast. And Mamani Jones was on one of the episodes, and he was talking about like,
oh yeah,
why don't people go play with Luka? Like, it's tax free, all this stuff. And then CJ kind of said this thing, and it's like, oh, there's another reason. He didn't say anything else. He just said, there's another reason.
Yeah,
and I was like, as soon as I was like, okay, everyone knows it's Mark Cuban. Like, all these quotes about like Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, they're going to catch up with you, dude. Like, other people like those players. Whether you
wrote
like
that
them
last year before all this stuff broke down and got a lot of grief, and it made Mark mad specifically at me. Like
but it's true. Yeah. Like, okay, if I'm in like data analytics, right? If I go out and I just start insulting people who make this platform that's very popular, Tableau.
Well, by winning the news cycle, like there's a thought in modern politics, and it really started with like what Reagan used to do to the Speaker of the House then, where you just constantly dunk on this guy, which is kind of how we've evolved to the modern politics we have now, where it's like you win the news cycle, but winning the news cycle inevitably comes with a cost when you're constantly in the news about stuff. Because when you say, the more you talk, and this is my problem, this is Bill Simmons' problem, the more you talk, the more likely you are to say something stupid.
Yeah, that's very true. But I think the difference between you, Bill Simmons, and Mark Cuban is the stakes are very different.
The reach. Absolutely. The reach, too.
The reach, of course. And, it's going to have different effects. And I think the biggest thing is when the Mavs try to, have dry powder and do all these things in free agency, who's going to want to come? I'm not going to play for the guy who insulted 2 MVPs.
Yeah.
Who insulted all-time great players.
Kicked Lamar Odom when he was on the bench.
And called, what's it? Kenyon Martin called Kenyon Martin a pretty derogative thing. Like, I'm not going to play for that owner. Like, why would I? I can just go play in LA with Steve Ballmer. He's going to pay me just as much money. He's going to be weird and wacky, but I'll be in LA. I'll get paid way more money.
Yeah.
Like, it's understandable. And it's not, I think the critical thing is no one is against the players. Like, I don't think anyone is sitting here and blaming Spencer, blaming, Reggie, but to me, the point has been clear. Guys like Reggie, if they're on other teams, they don't have the same role, and that's perfectly fine because they don't need to be at this elevated role.
Yeah.
But when you build a roster like this, these are the consequences that you face. And I think ultimately, I don't know what happens, but I hope for God that, yes, I'm glad Luka is putting pressure, and I think it's kind of a little too late, but I also hope it's not the situation where then you start making really dumb trades. Like you go out and you get Bogdan Bogdanovic, and you go out and you get older players. Like, please stop trading for 30-plus-year-old players or even players at 28. Like, go get someone young. Like, if we're going to trade a THJ, I personally am not interested in the Terry Rozier stuff. I just don't completely understand it. And for me, I'd rather us go get someone like Isaac Okoro, who's like kind of frozen out of that Cavs lineup, right? He's a very good.
Yes, I'm tired. But Isaac Okoro would make us mad in whole new ways.
No, his offense is horrific. I'm not going to sit here and defend his offense, but it's like, or go get Rui Hachimura. Like I think he might be okay. But like, my point is, stop going and trading for for advanced age players who you're going to get stuck in their contracts, and then you're going to say 2 years from now, what are we going to do? We need to trade, and you'll repeat the cycle over again. Like, you just cannot. The problem is you cannot make mistakes anymore, and I don't know if I believe in this ownership and this front office to do that, to not make mistakes. And that's kind of sad because, I don't personally hate anyone on these players, but you read Twitter and it's like people are getting mad about Dwight Powell. Well, I can't completely get mad about Dwight Powell. He's put in a lose-lose situation. Like he's put in a situation where he has to do things that his skill set is not that good.
Yep.
His skill set is not made for it, and it's tough. It's tough because I don't want to completely go in on these players, but they're also in that situation, and some of it is on the coach, some of it's on the front office, and I think a lot of it is on ownership. Yeah. And my thing is, I don't think it'll ever change unless ownership changes, and I think the time for ownership change is it's been a while, and there was a time that it should have changed, and I don't think it ever will at this point.
It won't. That's okay.
It won't.
We'll have to deal with it. Christian, thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, thank you, Kirk. Sorry for holding everyone hostage for so long.
I'm going to go to bed. I do have news. If the Mavericks do become available, we will pool our money, and Mavs Moneyball Group Therapy will buy the Mavericks. I'm sure we can come up with it if we look between the couch cushions. Okay, everyone, be good. Thanks so much for hanging out. We will be back on Friday night. Everyone have a good finish to your week.